Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for First Wives Club. It's streaming over on betplus. This is Season 3, Episode 1, You Can't Hurry Love. So we open up the episode at Hazel and Nigel's dinner rehearsal, and everyone is dancing, laughing, having a great, lovely time. Except for Gary and Bree. They're sitting there at the table arguing in front of people about a nanny. And then it's time for them to toast to the couple. They stand up. They give this awkward behind speech about how marriage is not a picnic and just talking all out the side of their neck. But they end up toasting the couple and everyone could clink, clink toast. So we go a month in advance, a month earlier before this dinner rehearsal, and we see Gary. He's at home with the kids, and Bree comes home from work, and apparently the two of them have a breakdown in communication because Gary is getting ready to go to one of his little writers club meetings or something, and Bree comes home from work and automatically says she's going out to hang with her girls. And apparently the two of them didn't discuss it. Gary said he mentioned it to her already and wrote it on one of the kids' calendar. And the two of them go back and forth about it. And each one of them insists that they are the one that will be going out. Gary is like, look, it's too late to get a babysitter. So somebody, one of us, has to stay home. So he basically tricked Bree using one of the kids. And that's how he ended up being the one to sneak up out the door. And he left Bree sitting on the steps cursing. So in the next scene, we see Jayla and Jacob. They're in the kitchen fooling around. Supposed to be cooking, but, you know, they're doing other things. And Jacob is concerned because he says that they haven't been out in public or whatever. And he's thinking that she's trying to hide the relationship. And he wants to know, what is he to her? Is he your boyfriend? Just a little chef or just a hookup? And she says that they are a couple, that they are together, but she just likes to keep her business basically to herself and her personal life private. And he asked her, what is she afraid of? And before she can answer the question, you know, she deflects because now the pasta on the stove is overcooking. So she gets away with not answering. We see David and Gary. Gary is trying to get him a new suit. He's getting tailored for it. He looks at the price tag and he sees that they want an arm and a leg. But David tells him don't worry about the price because he deserves it. And we find out that Gary has a new book deal, and it's all because of the article he wrote for David for the Essence in the beginning and how that opened up doors for him. And he is very thankful for that. And he's telling them he would still be teaching the kids if that hadn't happened to him. So he's grateful and all of that. And so David was like, well, can you do a follow-up piece for me before I enter this Senate race? And Gary makes it seem as if he's so booked and busy, but he says that he's just joking. Just give him a couple of weeks, he'll get to it, because Bree keeps sending stuff to his phone. So he tells him that Bree and him had to come to a plan to where they have to share calendars now. And Bree is trying to fill a calendar up before Gary could put anything on the calendar. She's being very petty. So she keeps sending little things and whatnot, saying that, oh, from 2 to 4, I'm going to irritate the hell out of Gary. Ha, ha, ha. David mentions how him and Ari used to share calendars. And he does say that he's going to visit her in L.A. and spend 2 weeks with her. So they sit and talk and drink, have a drink together or whatever, and just laugh at how Bree is being petty. So we see Jayla and Versace. They're in the office going over one of their cases. And Versace messed around and left a photo in the folder that shouldn't have been in there. And it was somebody she's dating. She's actually over there running background checks and spying on her people that she's dating. So Jayla questioned her about it, and Versace was like, well, how can you talk, basically, and you over here being secretive about Jacob? And Versace says to her, are you scared of commitment? And Jayla admits that she is a little bit. So they had a whole bunch of big wigs walking down the hall. So Jayla told Versace, go do your private investigating on that and find out what was going on in the office. So later on, we see where Jayla is out front getting coffee for her and Jacob. And I guess she decides that now she doesn't care what anyone says. Jacob is her man. She's going to show whatever PDA she wants. So she tells him, and he's looking all like, you do realize everyone can see us. And she says she doesn't care. That's her man, and it is what it is. So she decides she's going to invite him to go to Hazel and Nigel's wedding, and he accepts the invitation. She also tells him to meet her at her house later on tonight. She was going to take him out and to make sure he wears something nice. So we see Gary jogging. Bree calls him and tells him don't forget the dry cleaning. Gary tells her, look, it's not on the calendar. She's putting it on the calendar as the two of them are talking. And Gary is like, you can't do that at the last minute. And he lets her know, look, you've been out 1,000 times while I was left home. I never complained. You can't always get your way about everything. Then they bring up some other stuff where she has indeed won, you know, the argument about getting her way or whatever. So he tells her, look, you can't keep putting these bogus appointments on the calendar. Like, what is this about flying to a private island? And she was like, that's not fake. That's Hazel's wedding. And he's like, so what? I'm not invited? I thought that was postponed. She said, well, of course you're invited, but somebody got to stay home with the kids. Once again, being petty. Like, and the two of them argue about who met Hazel first and why one should go over the other person. So Bree ends up putting on the calendar. Both of them are going to take the trip, but it'll probably just be her going because Gary has to find a babysitter. Bree's just petty as hell. So Gary and Bree, they're getting ready to leave to go on a trip. And Gary had to call his cousin Pam since he had to be the one to find a babysitter. And Bree is in her feelings about it because, you know, she doesn't like Pam because Pam is real disrespectful. She comes in your house and takes over everything, eat up all your stuff, drink up all your stuff, and just don't give a damn. So Bree trying to hide all her good chocolate and all her good wine, trying to Pam-proof the house or whatever, locking all her stuff up. But instead of Bree keeping the key with her or maybe putting it in her bedroom somewhere, Bree just sits the key in this little basket and puts it on the little sofa table right in front of the door when you walk in. So, of course, Pam comes in, she greets everyone, talks to the kids real quick, basically pushes them out of the door and goes straight to the little basket that's on the table, gets the key, and goes right under the counter where all the wine and stuff is. Like, Bree, you're going to have to do a little bit better than that because Pam is a pro. So we head over to Maxine's Island where Hazel, she's greeting the crew as they're coming in. They are gifted these big gift bags that have a whole lot of stuff in it that they're loving. Hazel also notices that David and Ari aren't there and wondering where they are. So Gary says that David, he missed his flight and they're going to catch the next flight, you know, as soon as they can. So basically they'll be there soon. And the crew, they start screaming and hollering, jumping for joy, just happy to be on the island. We see all the ladies, they're on the beach, they're getting pampered, sitting, relaxing, having a conversation. Mia actually brings Hazel a box of chocolates that come from her aunt from Jamaica. And she asks Mia, does she want to join them? And Mia tells her no, she has to plan for the next day. And she's being super nice and all of that. And Bree was like, you know, Mia sure has come around. So Hazel basically lets her know, yeah, because she got her VIP concert ticket. So they basically like, oh, so that's why she's kissing your ass because, you know, she's getting concert tickets out of the deal. So we move over to the guys. We have Gary and Jacob sitting there having drinks. And we learn that Ari and David's flight has gotten canceled and they're not going to make it until the day of the wedding and probably going to have like 10 minutes when they land to catch the ferry over to the island. So we'll see how that all plays out. And in the midst of the two of them talking, he lets Jacob know that he asked Pam, his cousin, to move in their house to be their nanny. Now, as we've said before, Bree doesn't like Pam. Pam is an issue. So Gary know he is dead ass wrong for doing that. So he says he's going to tell her, wait till she get a little drunk and all, and he's going to break the news to her in front of a crowd. But as we remember season 2, Bree did do him like that in front of a crowd, talking to him about applying for the chief of staff position. So she has done that to him before, but he should know better than to ask Bree about Pam moving into their house, because that's a no-no. That's just not going to work. So Donovan and Nigel, they come up to Jacob and Gary and invite them to come to the bachelor party. And they're trying to come up with all these excuses. They're tired. They're jet lagged. Gary says he needs to go and write. And they were like, well, it's not going to be anything crazy. You guys just come on and hang out with the GOAT. And they were like, okay, we'll see what's up. So the two of them, Jacob and Gary, they sit and try to decipher who is the GOAT. Like, who is the GOAT? So they're naming these celebrities, Tiger Woods, LeBron James. They're trying to come to the conclusion that Rochelle, she knows a lot of celebrities and people in big places. So they decide that they would be crazy not to go and hang out with the GOAT to see who it is. So they say they're going to finish their drinks and then they're going to go ahead and go to the bachelor party. But I'll bet you any amount of money the GOAT is actually going to be a real live GOAT. We head back over to the ladies and they're floating on cloud 9, but come to find out they're high as kites. They're saying anything out their mouth, laughing and smiling to themselves. So Mia comes back over there and she's like, did you guys eat all of the chocolates in here? And they were like, yeah, they were pretty good. Like, yes, like, what is the problem? So she was like, well, I told you guys that they came from my aunt from Jamaica and they're laced with weed. And they were like, okay, Ann. They didn't care. They were enjoying their mood. They were on cloud 9. They were having a nice little time. So in the midst of them being high, Jayla mentions being hungry and horny. And Bree ends up saying something about she doesn't want to be bothered with Gary because Gary had the nerve to make an executive decision and invite Pam to be their nanny. And, she's not with the BS. Hazel mentions that she is glad that she doesn't have to be dealing with the whole kid parenting drama of it all. And her and Nigel work things out and they're just going to enjoy themselves. So Jacob and Gary, they make their way to the bachelor's party. And when they get there, they meet up with Donovan and Nigel. And they were like, we're here. We want to meet the GOAT, So they was like, oh, you want to meet the GOAT? They're right over there. So they walk over to where they pointed to, and they see this guy from behind that looks like super tall or whatever. So I guess in their mind, they're thinking, oh, Lord, it's LeBron or whatever. So you see the guy, he's getting up. So he turns around all slow and dramatic, and it's not LeBron. So they're highly disappointed, and Nigel and Donovan are dying laughing. And then the camera pans down, and it's actually, like I thought, a real damn GOAT. So they are highly disappointed, and Nigel and Donovan were like, y'all go over there and introduce yourselves. His name is Wedding Dinner. And they looking at them like, hell nah. We know Versace left the ladies to go get them some coffee so that they can sober up. So while she's in there trying to get that together, she meets this lady that comes in there and tries to help her out because the coffee is hot or whatever. And those two, we didn't get her name. I didn't hear what her name was. So those two have a conversation about, not really being involved with the whole wedding thing and how they were... Last time they went to penis-shaped lollipops and they laugh and whatever all over that. And basically the lady invited her to go take a swim on the beach if she wanted to come do that. And instead of going to sober up the lady, she agreed that she'd rather go and get that swim in. Back to the bachelor's party, we see Jacob and Gary carrying on a conversation with Wedding Dinner, the GOAT. And they're saying how they hate his name and this and that, and Gary decides we're going to take the GOAT, and Jacob was like, no, we cannot take the GOAT. Gary goes and takes the GOAT off the leash and they walk out of the party with the goat. Like, Gary, where are you going with this goat? Like, you can't take it to the room because Bree is going to have a heart attack. So what are you getting ready to do with this goat? And not only that, Nigel probably is going to have a fit. So it's clearly the next morning and we see Versace and the lady. Still don't know her name. We still didn't get her name. They're in the bed together. So apparently they went for their swim and they ended up sleeping together overnight. And basically they tell each other they don't usually, I guess, sleep with someone on the first night. They're a little more cautious of doing that kind of stuff. So she has to go. She gets a text message or whatever, and she tells the lady that she'll see her at the wedding later on. So now we're at the wedding, and Jacob is telling Jayla how him and Gary stole a goat from the night before at the bachelor parties. And they basically liberated the goat because they changed his name from Wedding Dinner to Vincent Van Goat. And she's laughing it off with him. And here comes Versace running up to her all panicking, talking about, I was looking all over for you because I got news from a source that the firms are merging and now you and Jacob, you guys are going to be co-workers. So I guess since they're sleeping together, that's going to mean something or put a hindrance or something on their relationship. But I guess we'll see what happens with that going forward. Then here comes Gary and Bree. They're also running around like a chicken with their head cut off because now David and Ari, they're not going to make the wedding in time and they need someone to take Ari's place. So Bree is basically asking Jayla, can she please take Ari's place? And she's been at all the fittings for the dress rehearsals or whatever, dress fittings, and she should be able to, you know, fill in or whatever. And she was like, oh, no, that's not my color. So she's trying to come up with an excuse not to do it. But she ends up agreeing to go ahead and doing it. So the wedding is starting and we have Regina singing a beautiful song. We have the wedding party coming out. Everybody is looking nice. They're gorgeous. Everything just seems like it's going nice and smooth. We're waiting for Hazel to come down the aisle. And Hazel is nowhere to be found. Everybody's looking around, wondering where she is. And at the end, Bree is like, what in the heck is going on? And we get a to be continued until the next episode. And that's where it ends. So what did you guys think of episode 1 of season 3 of the First Wives Club? Do you think Hazel will leave Nigel at the altar? I guess we'll find out on the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.